Probably most of you know me, but just in case you don't, I'm Brandon. I am the executive camp director slash chief program officer at Camp in Center Point, Texas, where we serve kids and adults with a variety of special needs, including medical conditions like cancer. And in addition to that, I'm a clinical child psychologist and have been involved in children's cancer camps since 1992. When I first started working at one while I was in college in the summers. I've also spent a year as year-round staff at a camp for kids who have lost a parent, a brother, or sister. So a lot of focus on grief through all of that experience. And you know, the idea for this session came from comments that some of you have made, that our COCA staff has had their ear to the ground and listening to the needs that are out there, and just the recognition that what we're all facing in this crazy world that we're living in is a grief process. It fully is one of those situations where camp means so much to us, and it means so much to us because of the campers and families we serve and how much it means to them in their lives and their healing journeys. And we put so much into it that not being able to have camp as we know it is a significant loss for us and for all of those people we serve. So we wanted to have a chance to just get everybody together to identify that there are these stages of grief that we're all likely going through or will be going through or have gone through, and to bring the resiliency of this community together to help with coping, to help everyone know that you're not alone in the things that you're going through. And that's kind of what our intention is here. And I'm going to pose a question to everyone to ponder. Like everything at camp, it's challenged by choice. If you don't feel comfortable answering the question, you won't have to answer the question. I'm not going to ask anybody to answer right away. That's why I'm going to ask the question now, and then talk about a few more things before coming back to that. But just ponder this, if you will, as we get rolling. What is the best thing that has happened for your camp because of COVID-19? And I know the gut reaction is like, there's nothing good about it, it's horrible, it sucks. And that's human nature, that we're gonna have that initial gut reaction. But dig deep. Think about what has changed for you in the last 2 months, the ideas that have come, all of those things that you've grown through, and try to think of what is the best thing that's happened to your camp because of this pandemic. So while you think about that, I just want to identify that, like with any grief process, and there are a lot of different models out there, different stages that some people allude to, but probably the best known stages of grief model is the Kubler-Ross model. And that is starting with denial, that when we first face a significant loss, our gut reaction is to say, no way, this can't be happening. This isn't real. Somebody's got their information wrong. This is just impossible for this situation to be occurring. So denial is that first stage. The second stage is anger. We get pissed off. We get mad, like, how could this be happening? Who is responsible? We want to put the blame somewhere. Then we go to that stage of bargaining. And we want to say, well, what if we did this? What if I try harder? What if and we start thinking about, where have I failed? What are my weaknesses? What are the things that I haven't done enough of to make sure that this happen, and that, things can happen, or that the loss won't be as difficult or as real. And then when we find that we're likely powerless to some extent no matter how much the bargaining that we've tried to do, depression can set in. And that may be a place that many really get stuck in. And there's some great resources out there just helping people deal with mental health issues during this time. The Red Cross has a free training that's available. And I know that that's been posted in some of the speed alerts from COCA-I. So that's out there. There, all kinds of resources that are available. But, finally we get to the point of acceptance. And in that state of acceptance, we kind of face the realities of what the loss is. And we start figuring out how we're going to pick up and move on. And some people get to that stage faster than others. And that's an important message for us to all realize here. We as individuals may move through the stages very quickly. We may move through very slowly, but the people who are around us, who are our peers, aren't always going to move through at the same pace we do. And recognizing that while I may have already gotten all the way to acceptance, I may have some staff who are still stuck in anger. And it's my responsibility to help meet them where they are and help love them through the process to the point of acceptance. So, that's kind of the baseline of just recognizing that all of these stages that people can go through are valid. If you have been feeling any of those, don't feel like you're alone. Know that your staff, your volunteers, your campers, the families are going through these stages as well. And it's also not always a situation where you complete one stage and you're done with it. You can fall back into those stages as well. You may have felt like you got to acceptance, but then something strikes you and you're right back at anger. Something strikes you and you're right back at depression. So recognizing that it is a process. We call it the grief process for a reason. It's not something that you just graduate from one level to the next automatically. So normalizing all of that, letting everyone know that you're not alone in feeling those things. We'll get to the point of in this chat, because I do want it to be a chat. It's not a lecture. I'm not going to sit here and talk at you this whole time. But we'll get to the point where some of you can share where you are in the stages. We want to get to the point that we share some ideas for coping and what has helped us get to acceptance and move beyond that. We want to really take advantage of this valuable camp community that we have through COCA-I because together we are stronger. I mean, undoubtedly, together we are stronger. So having laid out that whole foundation, I want to pose that question again and would just love to hear anybody chime in who is ready to be challenged by choice in that way. What is the best thing that has happened for your camp because of the COVID-19 pandemic? Anybody want to jump in?
Hey, it's Belinda from Camp Journey.
Hey, Belinda.
Hey, I wanted to jump in. The best thing for me is that we have been able to reach out to previous staff members that haven't been able to come because of families or just life. And they are doing videos for us and trying to help us up with, get ready for virtual. And that has been really awesome because they don't want to leave camp, but life makes it so they can't be at camp. So, and especially since most of our kids, we have a lot of college students, when they start families, they can't be there anymore. So it's been really great. We've gotten a connection that I had been wanting to anyway, and this was a perfect time, and they're home. So they're doing it. They're doing videos with their kids and camp songs. So it's been great for us.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Anybody else, just even a show of hands, had similar experiences to Belinda with your camps? Yeah, seeing some nods, some hand waves. Great. Who else has a perspective on something good that has come for your camp?
I want to say that it's been a connection with COCA as well. Uh, this has been so great for me to get to see my friends, and most of you are my friends. Yeah, Belinda's smiling there. It's really wonderful. I also think that little by little, and obviously Matt and I work together, the excitement that Matt, I have to say, is promoting with our staff, and it's contagious. And right now, there's only about 8 of us involved. As of tomorrow, we will be Zooming. We're setting up 2 Zoom times where we will officially tell our staff. And I think that one of the things is that we're working so hard that it's going to be exciting and positive. And we've really got some really great things, you know, Camp in the Box, just lots of really great, which I hate to say this reminded me of something. I don't know if anyone else thought of when we said Camp in the Box. I'm not going to say what it made me think of, but I watch a lot of Saturday Night Live, and that's about all I'm going to say. Matthew.
I had not thought of that, but now I will. Thanks, Millie.
I couldn't help it. Anyhow, love you all. This is wonderful. I am going to cry a little bit, by the way. This would have been my 37th year at Camp Happy Times. And it's really, so I am sad. There's no doubt about it, but I'm also excited that we're going to do the Zoom, we're going to do all kinds of virtual camp. And I'm really excited. And because of Matt's enthusiasm, we're really going to have a fantastic year. That's it. I'm turning myself off.
Thank you, Millie. And yeah, thanks for the shout out. I really am very appreciative of how quickly our COCA-I staff, Don and Jennifer in particular, started thinking, wait, how can COCA serve our membership during this time? And there's been lots of good stuff that's been coming through COCA over the last 6 to 8 weeks. So very quick response on that, and it's been really awesome.
Is one virtual combined camp. So we have all of our camp directors working together for the very, very first time, sharing staff, and kids will be seeing each other from the different camps in the different communities, and the staff will be sharing time together as well. And that kind of coming together is something that we never would have had the opportunity to think to do. And this is providing that opportunity for us. The other thing is that and I agree with what you said, Brian, it has helped us move out of our comfort zone. In developing virtual camp, we have had to think very consciously about the principles upon which we've developed camp, some of those things that are the rituals that are basic to who we are, and do everything that we could to incorporate that into a virtual platform so that the kids will feel that same familiarity with camp. And, you know, we do everything year by year, and we make changes and we make things better, but we don't always think back to the beginning and the core values on a regular basis that we impart through camp.
A variety of camps for our patients. And I will be kind of the opposite of Millie. This would have been my first summer camp with this kind of group, anything like this. I was in the restaurant industry before. So I was very excited going into this and got completely flipped upside down. I was hesitant about joining because all of you have been doing this for so long and this is my first year. So I don't have as much to grieve, but hearing y'all talk, I'm getting a lot of ideas because we do have staff like Child Life and Arts and Medicine where they are completely heartbroken, not just about camp, but interacting with their patients. And I'm over here being over passionate, like we get to do all these cool new things. So like you said, learning to meet them. So I really want to take this style to the hosts and talk to them like Michelle said, like bring it back to the basics. Why are we here? What are we doing? We can do really cool things that we never even thought of. So for me, a personal best thing is this position I'm in now was created brand new. There's no really rules or guidelines, so I could create it as I'm going. And so this was never even a thought. So I get to kind of help form it. And so one, make a name for myself and see what I can do with it, and also help the different departments come together to create really cool things for the kids. But the other thing that I think is an awesome thing that has come out of this, again, we never would have thought about virtual, but we're able to provide opportunities for kids who just don't get the opportunity because they are so sick. And Michelle was in the session earlier, but the one kid that I keep referring to, he was admitted in February. Typically, if we would do activities in our PD dome, he would not have been able to come because he was too sick. His parents didn't want to come out of the room because, you know, they're dealing with a lot. He was able to join music therapy and dance and even participate with other kids on the Zoom. And he was able to enjoy it, and he passed away last week. So it's just a reminder to me that we are still getting to reach kids, again, back to the basics that we weren't able to reach before. So one, kids that have cancer, two, really, really sick ones. So again, it's just reaching a little bit further for us. So I think that's really a cool thing about this. And then also getting to meet all of you. Again, this is brand new for me. I've gotten some really good ideas of, I have no idea what's going on, but it's been really good to join these sessions. I think I've been on every single one. So I talk a lot, sorry, but I'm done.
No, it's great. Thank you so much, Tara.
Well, and I think to add on to what Tara was saying, kids that can't fathom spending the night at camp and getting past that anxiety, and the ones that are introverted to where it's going to open up a whole new world for them. And I had a camper that was assigned to me last summer that couldn't make it through the night, and he lasted one day at camp. And I just thought of him, that this would open up a whole new world for him.
Exactly that. And even parents, we spoke with one parent that was scared to send their kid off, which is completely understandable. So again, talking about keeping virtual camp going on, so they don't want to let their kid go for the week, but stay at home and we can still connect with you somehow.
Can I add something else? It's Michelle again. One of the things that this entire experience has given to our donors and our staff who aren't at camp is a true visceral understanding of what our kids go through. The fact that they have to be separated from family, the fact that they, you know, are concerned walking out the door about getting sick, sicker than they are. It's brought a new understanding, a very visceral understanding to those people who would just see the kids having fun at play and not really understand intellectually what they go through, but now they're able to understand viscerally.
Yeah, that is so true. I think for so many people out there, they understand the cause on one level and have compassion for the kids that we serve, but you're right, they are understanding on such a deeper level now.
A couple of things occurred to me, and one is similar to what Brian said, that people who, for whatever reason, can't be at camp, maybe they are afraid to be away overnight, maybe they're in the hospital, maybe something else prevents them from being there at the specific dates that are available to them. There are a lot of potential reasons why people might not be able to participate in our, our physical camps. And so the virtual platforms allow for them to participate in different ways. And the main thing that I've been thinking about is that, we're all sort of in this position where we're being forced to come up with an alternative to our regular camps on virtual platforms. And there's no way that can completely replace what we can do when we're all together and can see each other and touch each other and play with each other. But I've been really impressed that it does provide a way of connecting people, and that all of the things that we're learning in this process are things that I hope we'll be able to add to our programming, so that in addition to our summer camp weeks, we'll be able to have different kinds of virtual platforms that are available to people throughout the rest of the year, ways that kids who are in the hospital and can't be at camp can maybe still participate in some of the things that we do while we're up there. There's a whole bunch of possibilities that I never had really thought about before for ways that we can connect people to what we're doing going forward that we're all forced to experiment with and learn about because of this virus.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. I think, ditto. I haven't personally answered the question yet. I posed the question, but I think that is my answer that I keep coming back to, is that this situation has forced us outside of our box, our comfort zone. We're thinking outside the box, like the whole COCA-I website edition there on all of this content. And there, who knows the things that we are putting into place and coming up with now, how that will last into the future and reach families, campers, staff, volunteers in new ways that we never would have even stopped to explore if we hadn't been forced into this situation. So that's definitely been the most positive thing for me as well. Anybody else out there want to throw their 2 cents in on that question?
I was just thinking that our camp organizing committee meetings that we do on Zoom seem a little bit more task and less social. So it's kind of nice that we get things done. And yeah, you are missing that social part, but yet our meetings would run so long, and it's just kind of nice to have the task of using this platform to get things done.
Brian, the exact opposite happened for us. I feel like we are all so starved to talk to each other and see each other that we spend a lot of time connecting virtually. And I'm pleasantly surprised at how strong that connection is for us on a virtual platform. But our staff meeting went from an hour and a half to what, Dina? 3 hours? Is that fair? Dina's shaking her head, and we're all kind of like, we need to focus better. But I think as a staff, we're just so, the only way to say it is we're just starved to spend time with each other at our facility. And so when we get on the Zoom conferences together or Teams platform for us, it just is very social and wonderful at the same time.
One of the other things that I am just wondering if we will experience when we get beyond the limitations that we have now is our executive office is a little over an hour away from where our camp facility is, and we have people who work in both places. And there's often been a culture that camp staff are expected to go to the executive office at least a couple of days a week because they need to have FaceTime with the other staff. And there's often been this sense of the burden on us. It's like, why don't they come out to camp more often? And I wonder if we will find ourselves more comfortable with these virtual types of connections and nobody having to travel as much in the future. We'll see when we get there, but I'm kind of hopeful myself that we'll be more comfortable with that.
I was just going to say, it was funny when you were talking about the meetings. I've never had so many people at my meetings. It's like fantastic, that part of it, because everybody's schedules and stuff, and I live kind of out farther away from camp. So in order for me to host, it's a little challenging. So I think most of our meetings for our year-round committee will go to Zoom because so many more people can come. The only thing is that like on this meeting, I'm going to have to mute everybody and just let them take turns, because that was our problem, talking over each other. Everybody is excited to see everybody, and everybody's having their cocktails at home as we're on Zoom. So as it progresses, it's like everybody's crazier. But I wanted to say something really quick because one of our group gave me this idea, and we're super excited. I know Camp in a Box, well, we're doing Camp in a Box with virtual. But what we're going to do is the week before camp, we're going to caravan and deliver the kids, as many as we can, and have our cars decked out and have our camp goofy outfits on and sing a song when we go to each house. And I'm super excited for that. And I didn't know if anybody else had thought of that, but it is a way to connect with them. Obviously, we're not going to probably be able to do it with everybody, but, you know, I mean, we're going to do probably a couple days because we're, you know, a couple, 3 hours from some of our kids. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there for everybody.
You know, while I kind of forced everyone to think about that positive that's come out, we know that there's a lot that is really challenging in the decisions that everyone has been forced to make, in the grief of programs being different, or in some cases maybe not even existing. And we want this to be a safe place that people can express their anger, their you know, bargaining, that all of the different stages, wherever you may be or wherever you may have been, that's real. And I want you to have a place that you can feel comfortable expressing that as well. So anybody have other thoughts along those lines that they want to share with the group? Just get off your chest and vent a little bit. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a couple of monitors. I have a desk set up, so all over the place. So like I said, I'm totally on board with all virtual for this year and continuing some aspect in the future. Obviously not taking over what we can do in person, because that is priority. I guess what my frustration is, and how you talked about other people are at different levels in their acceptance, and I totally understand that. And I'm totally on board with people not participating on the virtual aspect because they don't feel comfortable on that platform or they just don't like it. What I still have a hard time is the negativity of other staff, where it's like, I get you're frustrated, but at the end of the day, we're trying to do this for kids. Like, I'm not making you do this to make you feel uncomfortable. I want you to provide music or art or something so that you can connect with a kid who was never going to come out. So I guess it's trying to figure out how to communicate with them and get them to see that, and still working with them so I don't come across as like over passionate and they just want to like stab me. But it's how do they see it again? What are we doing at the basics? We're here to just make, if it's this last kid's a couple weeks, let's give them some music, whatever it may be. So my frustration is getting people to at least get on board, not accept it, but on board and understand like what the benefits could be to keep virtual camp and programming.
Sometimes too. I think that if somebody's going to be so negative and you can't turn them around, then maybe, you know, maybe they're coming to camp for a different reason. And maybe that's some evaluation that we're going to have to make. I really can't wait till tomorrow to hear what our staff is going to say, because I would say 95% of them have no idea what's going on. And it's going to be very, very interesting how they react. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, I was just going to say, part of it is kind of, you know, there are people for whom the glass is half empty and other people for whom the glass is half full. So part of it is just that different people react to situations differently. And, you know, I think we need to try a little bit to meet them where they are, as long as we can find a middle ground that we can both be comfortable with. And the other thing that makes me a little more circumspect about being too judgmental is that I think everybody is under a lot of stress right now, that just life is so different, and we're all starved for social interaction. And, you know, while it's great to see people's smiling faces on Zoom, it's not the same as being able to give somebody a big hug and offer them a glass of wine or whatever you might want to do. And so, you know, some people are probably a little crabby and out of sorts just because life is not what they want it to be right now. But, you know, there are some people who go overboard in that, and they need to get a little correction, no matter how you might be able to do that, whether that's telling them that right now they're not contributing in a positive way and they need to sit out for a while, or maybe finding a way to get them to recognize that you know, no matter what's going on and how much they like or don't like it, this is the way things are right now, and we just kind of have to find the best way to move forward.
Because of the tight connections and how close they felt to the kids, that there was no way that they wanted to give up even whatever small points of contact they could have with the kids. And so it was very positively responded to. It's different. It's unusual for them. It's not the same kind of touch and feely kind of camp that we usually have, but it was very positively responded to, and everybody, I would say 3/4 to more than that of our staff want to have some part and some hand in creating the fun for the kids this summer. So we just found a very positive response based on their connection with the kids.
I want to apologize. My internet is being real sketchy, and I'm not sure if it's coming through or not. I was trying to log in through the phone for audio, so I apologize. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me see what I can do.
Something that had occurred to me, kind of going back to Brandon's original question that started this, and maybe is something for thinking about when you're concentrating on programming or what's going to be in your virtual camp. Something we really had to focus on or think about is what are the things that make up our camp? So like, what's the essence of our camp, I guess, is something we had to really kind of narrow down on, so you know what's your priorities. And I just thought it was kind of a neat, almost forced exercise to have to do that when we talked about what it would mean if we were to try to have camp or try to have a virtual camp. So that was an unexpected positive of this situation for us.
For me, each week at camp once a year gives me a disconnect from my real life. And so when I leave camp after that week, it gives me a new worldview or a new perspective on walking back into the house. So when you talk about, you know, what I'm going to miss or what's difficult is I'm so used to so many years of having that week of just, you know, having a great time, enjoying it, being out in nature. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't do that this year. Damn it.
I have been hearing those thoughts on those different aspects of grieving, and even scrolling back up to when I was first having the difficulties, there was a statement from Andy and Leanne just talking about how this grief process is cumulative. Like we keep getting hit by new things over and over again. And, you know, kind of going back to what some of you have also said about the lives of our campers, what Michelle was saying about that very visceral understanding of things for the campers. This is what life is like in their lives while going through cancer diagnosis and treatment all the time, facing this cumulative effect of new information hitting them. So yeah, hopefully it does give us a little bit of a new perspective on empathy for everybody who's part of the camp community as we're going through all that. One of the things that I also want to make sure we're getting, and again, some of this I think has been coming through in the other comments and may have come through while I was not able to hear everybody for a little while there. But the resiliency, I think, that we see in our campers and their families is something that we have all marveled at and hopefully learned from. And I think that that same resiliency is what we can apply for ourselves, that we can try to apply, going back to, some of what Tara was talking about with some of the negativity of some of the staff, and where we try to meet them where we are, or where they are. It's important that we do that, but the messages that we can bring them to hopefully help pull them along the way, or as Millie said, help them find the door if that's the thing that needs to happen. And sometimes making that decision is another tough decision that we all have to face from time to time. And it's probably harder, Tara, for you who have not been around for as long, and you don't know the people as well, and it may be harder to make that judgment of who is worth putting the time and effort in to bring along, and who is it really time to just, cut bait. And hopefully you have some people within your organization whom you can trust, who can help you know those people and their personalities, and whether they're contributing something to camp overall or have that potential, or if it is time for them to move on. So I hope that you can find those people who can help guide you with that. If you haven't already been able to just tell from your own interactions, and you may have been, but I think that would be beneficial if you have some trusted advisors, I guess, in that. But, thinking about those people that we know can be brought along, then I think the recommendations that I would have, meet them where they are, listen, and let them vent and express themselves to a point. And then it's about focusing on, yes, that we have all felt that way through this process, that, acknowledging that those feelings are valid and real, but saying what I've been hearing many of you say tonight, none of us created the situation. We're all being affected by the situation. We all have to make the best decisions that we can with the information that we have available. And the reality is that camp can't look like it normally does right now. And either we can pout about it and stay stuck in that anger or denial stage, or we can say, what are those, like Kay was saying, what are those important components of camp? What is essential to this thing that we call camp, and how can we find ways to connect our camp community over those things? And let's move on. And if you're not going to be able to move on, then maybe this isn't the year for you to be involved with what we're doing. But if you have some ideas and you want to contribute, then this is where we're headed. Get on the train and let's go. I think it's for people who are in these leadership roles, and forced to make those tough decisions. That is where we have to get, that we try to bring people along, we try to help them understand that none of us wanted this situation, none of us are happy about the situation, but we are dedicated to making what we provide to our campers and families and the whole camp community as happy as it can be. And if happy isn't where you want to be right now, then this isn't the right place for you. So I'll quit and let some of you kind of weigh in.
Recognize that that everybody works at camp and works with our kids for a different reason. Everybody gets their goodies differently, and feels good about the relationship. A lot of people are very interpersonal and want to be present. And I think we need to recognize that this is not a format for all of the staff that have been with us for all of these years. And so it may not be that they're naysayers or people who, just say, we can't do this. It may be people who are just not comfortable with this kind of platform. And that's okay too. I think we need to be able to accept that.
Absolutely great point, Michelle. And it is easy for us to start deciding what this outside the box looks like for us and for our camp, and then try to fit everybody outside that box. But I think you're right, Michelle. It's not in anything that we do. It's not that someone is necessarily a good person or a bad person or whatever. It's about the fit. It's about any employment situation. It's about that even for our campers. As much as we all think camp is amazing and we think every camper could benefit and should participate, we have to acknowledge that there are some campers that camp is not their thing. And that's okay. And they're not bad people. And we're not bad people, and we haven't failed just because we didn't make it fit them. And so I think when we start acknowledging these different ways of delivering programming, that you're absolutely on target, that we have to accept that it's not the right box for some people. Go ahead, Dina.
Is flexibility. Right now, everyone's in very different places, either with their employment, things they're doing at home, if they're having to try to work and educate their children, and what does that all look like? What does that look like for families as well? And so those are all factors that we're looking at. Some of the things that have really stuck out to me in looking at planning with our committee and our volunteers is connection. Really is important. That's an important piece. Something else that is really important to our families and our campers are the rich traditions that we have. And so how can we creatively bring those traditions to our kids? And, you know, something else that has stuck with me, one of our campers once said is, it's not the place, it's the people. And any of us that have been on a campground, our office happens to be on our facility. And I can tell you that when the children are there, it comes to life. And so it's a very different thing. So being together, whether it is in person, which obviously we would all prefer, but being able to provide those connections in a meaningful way, I think is really the goal here. And so I just want to thank COCA and the opportunity to connect with everybody too, because I will say being able to connect with everybody and hear people's ideas and being able to share over the past several weeks has been very impactful too.
So basically being able to work with the in-hospital camp program has been a real eye-opener and fun way to bring camp to that next level. This year we were supposed to have a parent program, and that's not going to happen now, but adding another program to camp and forcing us to grow that way is fantastic, I think. And our camp happens in a hotel, and the hotel is actually so concerned with that, not being able to host something. They have even offered to do like a family program in like the next season that they can. So I think that's awesome. So even though we can't be there in person yet, this ability to actually grow from this, that's what just gets me excited in the morning. Like, all right, we still got work to do, and work and work and work. And I'm sure everyone's been working super hard and longer hours than they thought they would be at this time. So I'm excited about that. So I like to work.
CUMTA made its call to suspend all of our in-person programs for the rest of 2020. But we're really clear that we're still going to have programs. We're just doing them very, very differently. What I would encourage you, for those of you that haven't announced yet, if and when you make that announcement, do a press release and control the story so it doesn't hurt your program. We did a press release the same time we announced it as on our social media. I ended up with news crews on my front lawn with a boom that was 10 feet long. It was pretty hysterically funny, but we were able to control the story versus the news cycles turning it into another big loss because of COVID, which is what they're really trying to do. They're trying to sell their news stations, and we didn't want that. We wanted to control the story and say, we are not canceling our programs. The connection will happen. We're just going to do it differently. We're reinventing what we do. We also didn't want our donations to dry up. So that message to say, we're reinventing what we do. We've actually talked about putting things on kids' front lawns and doing all of that kind of stuff as well. And all the shipping and mailing of things in the long run. I don't know where our finances are going to lead, but some of this stuff is getting pricey and will continue to be even more pricey. So control the story is a really important part. Make sure you do a good press release around what you want the press to report on. Because I did the press release when a news station didn't report it the way I wanted to, I was able to call them on it, and they actually corrected it on their websites and in their stories. But if I hadn't have done a press release, I don't know if that would have been possible. So control it as much as you can, because I feel like news stations are trying really hard for people to get people to watch them, and they're framing things in ways that are not necessarily healthy for us or our children or our families. So you want to control it in that regard.
Richard,
Go ahead.
just curious that we did our big reveal that we're going virtual to all our families and our staff via town hall this last weekend. You know, our activities team, we had a lot of fun with it. We did a little video and all that as well, and just gave them a chance to, you know, do questions and feedback afterwards. So that I thought was went pretty well. That they can ask questions and you know, get their feelers out. Although we had made the call to a lot of the parents beforehand to let them know like where it's probably going to go. So
we did a separate Q&A for the parents, laying out to them what camp would look like, and to encourage them to enroll their kids in virtual camp. And as a result of some of the questions and the way the webinar was laid out, we got a ton of quick enrollees right online almost immediately after the Q&A.
Yeah, I think, you know, great discussion. Always great to share time with our friends from COCA-I and to learn from each other, to support each other. That is what this community is all about.